Come on in. It's a nice day out here.
My name is Maria Rossi. I'm 103 years old. In 1986, my doctor told me I had 2 years left, maybe 3 if I was lucky. He said my heart was weak, my arteries were clogged, my knees were shot. He looked at me over those little glasses and said, Mrs. Rossi, honestly, I'd be surprised if you see 1989. That was 38 years ago. Dr. Patterson died in 2004. I went to his funeral, and I'm still here, still walking, still cooking, still living in the same apartment in Brooklyn where he gave me that death sentence. He got 3 things wrong. 3 things that every doctor gets wrong when they look at old people and see expiration dates instead of human beings. Let me tell you what they are. I was born in Calabria, Italy in 1921. Came to Brooklyn when I was 7. My father worked construction. My mother cleaned houses. I learned to sew from my nonna in a tenement on Hicks Street. By the time I was 16, I was making wedding dresses. By 22, I had my own shop. Married Antonio Rossi in 1943. He died in 1986, heart attack, 57 years old. 3 months after I buried him, I went to see Dr. Patterson for my annual checkup. I remember that day, October 14th, a Tuesday. I took the bus to Court Street, wore my navy blue dress, the one with the pearl buttons I'd sewn myself. Dr. Patterson was a good man, careful, thorough. He'd been our family doctor for 18 years. He took my blood pressure 3 times, listened to my heart for what felt like 5 minutes, sent me for an EKG. When the results came back, he sat me down in his office. Mrs. Rossi, he said, your heart is enlarged. Your cholesterol is over 300. Your knees show severe arthritis. At your age, with these numbers, he trailed off, took off his glasses, rubbed his eyes. Honestly, I'd be surprised if you see 1989. I was 65 years old. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just sat there looking at him. Then I asked, what should I do? He wrote me 3 prescriptions, told me to avoid salt, avoid stairs, avoid stress. He said, take it easy, Mrs. Rossi. Enjoy what time you have left. I took the prescriptions, walked out of his office, walked down 4 flights of stairs because the elevator was broken. And then I walked 8 blocks to Caputo's bakery on Union Street, not because I was in denial, not because I was being reckless, but because it was Tuesday. And on Tuesdays, I always bought fresh bread at Caputo's. I've been doing it for 23 years, since 1963, every Tuesday, rain or shine. Mr. Caputo was at the counter, same as always. He smiled when he saw me. The usual Maria, the usual Angelo. He wrapped up a loaf of semolina. I paid. We talked about his daughter's wedding dress. I was making it. Ivory silk, beaded bodice. I walked home. 8 blocks. Climbed 4 flights to my apartment. I put the bread on the counter. Made myself espresso. Sat at my kitchen table. The same table where Antonio and I used to eat dinner. Where I'd hemmed 10,000 dresses. And I thought about what Dr. Patterson said. 2 years, maybe 3. I looked around my apartment, at the sewing machine in the corner, at the window overlooking the street, at the coffee pot on the stove. And I realized something. Dr. Patterson told me what was wrong with my body. He told me what I should avoid: salt, stairs, stress. But he never asked me what I do every day. He never asked about the 8 blocks to Caputo's, the 4 flights of stairs, the hours at the sewing machine, the singing, oh, the singing Every morning since I was a little girl, I sang while I worked opera, Puccini, Verdi. My nonna taught me. She said, Maria, when you sing, you breathe deep. Deep breath is long life. I've been singing every morning for 58 years. Dr. Patterson never asked about that. He looked at my numbers and saw a dying woman. He saw cholesterol and arthritis and an enlarged heart. He didn't see the walking, the climbing, the sewing, the singing. Hey, he didn't see my life. So I made a decision that day. I wasn't going to avoid salt. I wasn't going to avoid stairs. I wasn't going to take it easy. I was going to keep living exactly the way I'd been living. Not because I thought I knew better than the doctor, but because stopping felt more dangerous than continuing. What would happen if I stopped walking to Caputo's, if I stopped climbing stairs, if I stopped sewing, if I stopped singing? I'd be waiting to die. And waiting to die is the fastest way to actually die. So I didn't wait. The next morning, I woke up at 6, made espresso, sang O mio babino caro while the coffee brewed, walked to the corner store for milk, came home, climbed the stairs, started working on Angelo Caputo's daughter's wedding dress. Tuesday came, I walked to Caputo's, bought bread. Wednesday, I walked to the fabric store on Atlantic Avenue. Thursday, I climbed to Mrs. Chen's apartment on the 5th floor to measure her for a coat. I kept moving, and something happened. My body forgot it was supposed to die. 1989 came and went. I was still here. 1995, 2000, 2005. Dr. Patterson died in 2004, 71 years old, stroke. I sent flowers to the funeral home. By then, I was 83, still walking to Caputo's every Tuesday, still sewing, still singing Puccini in my kitchen at 6 in the morning. People would ask me, Maria, what's your secret? I tell them the truth. I don't have a secret. I just never stop. But here's what took me 38 years to understand about what Dr. Patterson got wrong. Thing number one, he thought my body was the problem. It wasn't. My body was never the problem. My body was doing exactly what bodies do when you use them every single day. They adapt, they strengthen, they find a way. The problem was that he looked at me like I was a car with too many miles. He saw the wear and tear and assumed I was breaking down. But bodies aren't cars. Cars break down when you use them. Bodies break down when you stop using them. I was 65 with bad knees and a weak heart, but I was also 65 with legs that had walked 8 blocks a day for 23 years, with hands that had sewn for 49 years, with lungs that had sung opera every morning since 1928. Dr. Patterson saw the damage. He didn't see the capacity. Thing number two, he told me to avoid stress, but he never asked me what gave me joy. Sewing wasn't stress. It was purpose. Walking to Caputo's wasn't stress. It was ritual. Singing wasn't stress. It was breath. You know what's stressful? Sitting still, waiting, watching the clock, wondering when the thing the doctor predicted is finally going to happen. That's stress. But waking up at 6 and knowing exactly what you're going to do, that's peace. I had a routine. Wake up, espresso, sing, walk, sew, repeat. My body knew what to expect every single day. It didn't have to guess. It didn't have to panic. And here's what nobody tells you about the body. It doesn't want variety. It wants consistency. The body that does the same thing every day for 30 years doesn't break down. It becomes efficient. It becomes strong in exactly the ways it needs to be strong. I walked the same 8 blocks for 40 years. My legs knew every crack in the sidewalk. My lungs knew exactly how much air I needed. And my heart knew the rhythm. Dr. Patterson told me to take it easy. But easy isn't what keeps you alive. Routine is what keeps you alive. Thing number 3, and this is the big one. He treated my age like a disease. He looked at me and saw 65. And to him, 65 meant decline, meant fragility, meant the beginning of the end. But I didn't feel 65. I felt like Maria, the same Maria who walked to school in Calabria, who sewed her first dress at 14, who married Antonio, who buried him. Age is just the number of times you've been around the sun. It's not a diagnosis, but doctors see old people and they stop seeing possibility. They see risk. They see liability. They see someone who's closer to death than birth, and they start managing the decline instead of supporting the life. 3 years ago, Dr. Ed Patterson's son examined me. He's a cardiologist now, works at Mount Sinai. He pulled up his father's notes from 1986, read them out loud. Severe arthritis, enlarged heart, high cholesterol, prognosis, poor. Then he looked at me, looked at the chart, shook his head. Mrs. Rossi, he said, by every metric in this file, you should have died during the first Bush administration. I smiled at him. Your father was a good man, but he made the same mistake every doctor makes. What's that? He thought the body follows the prognosis, but the body follows what you do every single day for decades. Here's what I learned in the 38 years since Dr. Patterson gave me 2 years to live. Longevity isn't about avoiding death. It's about never stopping life. Your body doesn't care what the doctor says. Office, it cares what you did yesterday and what you'll do tomorrow and the day after that. You want to live long. Stop asking what you should avoid. Start asking what you can never stop doing. Because the body that moves every day forgets it was ever supposed to quit. I'm 103 years old. I outlived my doctor by 20 years, not because I had better genes, not because I took some miracle pill, but because I woke up every single morning and kept moving. If this story made you think about your own life, about the things you stopped doing because someone told you to take it easy, then do me a favor, subscribe to this channel, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment and tell me, what's the one thing you're going to stop avoiding and start doing again? I read every single one because maybe, just maybe, we can prove a few more doctors wrong. You've got time, more time than you think. Don't waste it sitting still. Ciao, Bella.